All right, man. So why don't you go ahead and let me know what a little bit about Gentleman's Avenue for the audience. Let me know what you stand for, why you created it, and then we can go from there.
Okay. So, what inspired me to create Gentleman's Avenue comes from a background of really low self esteem. How I got into dressing well was I was bullied a lot
Mm-hmm.
when I was younger in junior high going into high school, and that just really affected me. And so, to change the mindset, I had heard the term dress for success, and when you look good, you feel good. And I thought, I've got nothing else to lose, so let's just try this out. So, I began dressing well, and confidence started um, coming out more and more regularly. So I was dressing for others' approval at first, but then it became personal where I felt much better about myself, and then I realized that's what personal style needed to be.
Yeah.
That's not something that is promoted to the modern day male. A lot of times, I feel it has to do with overpowering another person of like, oh, I'm a man if I can top you in this, or if I can do this. But we don't talk about necessarily the confidence factor, especially in clothes, because it's got a negative connotation associated with it. So I realize that there's a power to clothing, and there is a benefit to dressing well. And that doesn't necessarily mean a three-piece suit, all day, every day. It's just dressing more intentionally. So I wanted to create a platform where more men would be able to go somewhere specific to learn and actually be inspired to make something their own, not
Yeah.
just copy what other guys are wearing,
Absolutely.
but to make it their own.
Okay. So typically was coming from low self esteem, which I can definitely relate to. I had that point. My, believe it or not, my uniform when I first came, let's just say from high school going into college, it was kind of like, and I'm just kind of use that as an example. Uh, you really just show up to class because there's no guideline, there's no rules, there's no uniform. You just kind of show up however you want. So before my uniform, like unofficial uniform, was sweats, gym shorts, maybe a t-shirt that I just got out of the hamper because I just kind of never really cared about how I looked, and then like slides. And I would so lazy. Literally, I would wake up 10 minutes before class. I would just, because I didn't have any hair, it was all shaved. It was just kind of brush my teeth, wash my face, and go. But the thing is that because I didn't spend that enough effort to get ready and get prepared and wake my body up, my productivity was very, very low. So, like you said, if you don't dress for success, it's just kind of more, it's not that you're dressing for success. You just want to succeed in that day. You want to get the most you can out of that day.
Absolutely, yeah. And like I said, there is a power to clothes, and it's people do appreciate when guys dress up. Females appreciate it. Potential future bosses appreciate it. We dress for opportunities. We dress for relationships, and we also dress for business. With relationships, if you're trying to catch the eye of a beautiful young lady, and you want to put your best foot forward. And people, uh, unfortunately, we do live in a very image-driven society, and people judge based off your image before they ever even hear words come out of your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So, in a perfect world, that wouldn't happen, but unfortunately, we don't. We live in a very flawed, fallen world. So, to kind of play to that, why not put your best foot forward? A lot of people think that I'm, very arrogant and that I'm trying to get get attention just because I'm dressing well, and I feel good about myself. Now there are people, and I will say there are people who love streetwear and they love dressing well, and that's how they feel confident, and that pulls out the best version of themselves, and that's what personal style needs to be. I always suggest dressing well because, like I said, people will notice that. People will care about that. And so you've got to know the industry that you're going into. Dress appropriately for that. And I even suggest taking it up just a notch above that. Not that you're just trying to get attention. It's you want to, like I said, you want that opportunity. You want to grab someone's attention for them to be able to listen to you. Now, there does need to be substance, and that's where the personal development comes in, is that you are developing yourself. But the the wrapping, if you will, the outer package, there is value to that, but that is not the only value.
Absolutely, I completely agree. And just kind of going off from your idea of you're very more business casual, formal wear kind of guy. That's what makes you dominate the day. That's how your dress for success is. And going back to what you said, some people really dominate streetwear, something that you probably couldn't do, or you wouldn't even feel confident nor comfortable doing it just because it's just you're not your expertise or your cup of tea, which is perfectly fine. Because, I've always said try it out, and if it doesn't work for you, kind of move to something that would, because some people are not always going to wear a three-piece suit, and like you say, everything's situational. It's just time and place. If you're let's just say this, if you're out at a barbecue, a three-piece suit in the middle of July, especially in Texas, is not going to help you. Even if it's linen suit, you're going to be like, I really don't want to wear this. And when it comes to something just as general as streetwear, let's just say someone really loves wearing jeans and joggers. Well, that doesn't mean that you can't have a suit for when you really need it, whether it's a wedding or maybe a formal event or a gala or anything like that. It's just one of the things to always be prepared for that.
Absolutely. And some people say that the suit is dead. I don't believe that the suit is dead. I believe it was done wrong for so long of just, it was advertised sloppy fitting and just put it on because you have to. It's exciting because it really does help amp up your physiological and your psychological mindset. I believe there does need to be a point of, as long as you are not dressing offensively to the situation, like for example a funeral, that is a very somber occasion. You do want to pay your respects. And if you just show up in jeans and a t-shirt, that is very offensive, and that is not respectful to the other person. That is showing the respect of life, because I respected the life and the legacy that you left. I want to show that through the way that I am presenting myself. Now, I will say, again, take that with a grain of salt, because a lot of people say like, oh, why are you so dressed up? You don't have to be dressed up. Be really casual. For me, when guys are saying like, oh, we've got a more casual work environment, I like dressing more casually. To me, that comes across as very lazy, as in guys don't want to make the effort. Now, I understand it can be intimidating, and I do understand that. There are a lot of people who don't want to talk to me because the way I present myself can come across as intimidating. That's not what I want to project, but some people do feel that way. If you feel confident, whether you're on the more streetwear side of the spectrum of clothing, or you're more on the formal side, which is where I would consider myself more on the formal side. If you're not being offensive, who cares? Like, you just don't care what other people think, because it matters what you think about yourself. If you're confident and that's putting the best foot forward of yourself, that's what needs to happen. So it doesn't necessarily even matter what someone else is thinking. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. And that's just kind of putting ourselves together on a spectrum, just kind of in comparison. This is not to say I've never dressed formal. I've always had my time and place. But I pretend to be more on the business casual streetwear side, just because I know how to piece it together and it fits. Like, I am a sucker for denim jackets. I don't know why. I love denim jackets. I love that military jacket. You love, as I can see here, pattern blazers, peak lapels. Sometimes when you want to go really vintage, you really can rock like pleated cuff pants, which is something that I personally I don't feel like I could ever do, just because you have to know how to rock it. And sometimes, although what to us people, they would say, let's just say standard person, they would say, oh, you're very arrogant, or maybe you're very intimidating. We didn't do anything. This is just something that makes us feel confident. Maybe, you're the one who's just being ignorant and you don't want to learn why we do this. And sometimes it takes a simple explanation.
And a lot of times it stems from their insecurities, as they don't like it, so they are projecting that on you. And the term taking offense, when someone says, oh, I took offense to that, well, that person could try to offend you, but you can choose to let it affect you or not. Yeah, there are words that are hurtful, but if that's not the truth, then why are you trying to take that on yourself? So if people are saying stuff about me that's not true, then it doesn't matter, because they are a negative influence, so I don't even want them in my life in the first place. I do get a lot of compliments. I don't dress for the compliments. I understand that they will come. I know that in my area, in my city, more than likely I'm going to be the best dressed man when I walk in the room.
Absolutely.
That's not an arrogant statement. It's just a very, I like to say, observational statement.
By
Because,
demographics,
like I said,
yes.
I tend to dress more on the formal side, where not a lot of other guys do. Now, if I walk in the room and I see a guy who is just what I would say outdone me, whether that's he's dressed better or he's got a better suit or whatever, I'm not offended by that. I'm more excited is that someone else is taking that initiative as well. They are keeping this passion going. And so, like I said, that stems more from their insecurities, and that shouldn't really affect you, because if they're saying those false statements about you, do you really want that person in your life? No. So you can say, thank you for your opinion. I deny that, and I'm going to move on. Or you don't even have to say anything. It's give them a hat tip and walk your merry way.
Absolutely. And the funny thing is that a lot of people think that, having insecurities is a bad thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but when you have them, are you going to let it dignify you, or are you going to let it, dignify your actions, or are you just going to own it? Me personally, I could say right now, one of my biggest insecurities is my nose. Like, I know I have, like, what some people think a very weird nose, but it's the one and only nose I got. I don't care. Like, because the thing is, it doesn't bother me. Like, of course I'm insecure about it. I get self-conscious about it. Hell, even when I'm in the gym, I'm always insecure that maybe I'm the stinkiest one in the room. So I have to, put on deodorant in every crevice. And it's just like, I want to make sure I don't stink. But then again, it's like, there's only so much I can do. So as long as I put in those contingencies to make sure I don't stink, it's like, well, I did what I could. Okay, I don't care. And I have to stay on a scale of 1 to 5. I'm probably like a 1.5. But it's just one of those things where insecurities aren't bad, but it's just, are you going to let it lower your status or lower your level of security of, well, you only get one body in this life, just own it. And then if, like in your case, I get one body in this life, a suit makes me own this body.
Exactly. I agree with everything that you're saying there. And there are going to be things that you may not like about yourself personally, things that you don't like about yourself physically. And if you don't like something, change it for you. Don't change it because someone else says, well, I don't like that. Again, that's their insecurities, coming out against you. If you're thinking, you know what, I'm fat, I don't feel good about myself, there's nothing that I look in the mirror and I feel positive about, then change it. With some people that's plastic surgery. Again, for me, I wouldn't suggest that because one, it's expensive and it could really be bypassed by, like what you said. If you don't like it, if you can't change it, then there's no reason to stress about it. If you can change it, then then don't stress out about it. If you're a little hefty, all right, go to the gym, start eating better. Take care of yourself. If wearing a different style of clothing, whether you've been business corporate your whole life, and then you think, you know what, I want to try jeans and t-shirt, and that pulls up the best version of yourself. That's what it should. Have the suit or a couple of them in his arsenal. He should always be for formal wear. Self, and that may not do it for everybody else, but like I said, this is what has worked for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of those things where it's pushing your comfort zone. Like, if you are always complacent, you will never move forward. And that is the thing. Like, right now I'm at a point where I've hit a point. I'm like, okay, I completed. I've always said goals should, like, if you have an ultimate goal, cut it in half. Like, meaning I want to be, let's just kind of go off the charts here. You're like, I want to own my menswear shop in a year. Well, may not really take a year if you don't have the capital. So let's just kind of go into speculation here. I have an ultimate goal where I want to hit 6 figures by next year. Cut it in half so they can be more realistic, because of course that's like saying I want to lose 20 pounds in a week. It doesn't really work that way. It's a progression, like how much you sleep, how much you eat, how much you exercise. So, I'm going to be straight up here, just kind of going back to this power and style. We weren't the best dressed or didn't dress well in one day. It took time. It took research. It took failure. I'll be honest, I remember looking back at pictures when I tried dressing well, and I was just like, God, that shirt wasn't even tailored. Those pants were too long. Those pleats were god awful horrible, and it's just like, it takes time. But the thing is, we're putting the effort and people are noticing. So for me personally, when someone notices, it makes me want to push in even more effort because I'm like, I'm getting somewhere. But then I hit that goal. So then it's like, well, I reached this goal. Do I be complacent or do I keep moving forward?
Absolutely. And you had mentioned about it is a progression. It does take time. I don't think I would ever get to the point where I would wear a pattern this bold. Like when I first started, I didn't think I'd be that bold, but now for me, I'm not scared of this. It's blue. It's something more bold than what other people wear. But again, I know myself. It's a lot of trial and error, and I know what works best for me. I know what I like, and for me, my version of success in dressing well is, again, am I putting my best foot forward? Am I being the best version of myself? And if that clothing is putting me along that path, then I know I'm doing something right. When I first started, it's always better to start at the basics. To start simple and then go from there. Some people want to be a bold, dandy dresser, and that takes a lot of balls to do. But if you're going to cower down, why would you not have the courage to do what works best for you? Why are you caring so much about what other people think? And again, that goes back to, it's not being offensive, like, hey, screw you, I'm going to dress the way I want, I'm going to show you. That shouldn't be the motivation. It's, I should do this for myself. Like, this is what makes me feel good about myself. So a lot of people will say, like, hey, why are you so dressed up? Or, don't you wear a pair of jeans or anything? I've got 2 pairs of jeans, and probably after those things wear out, I may not own another pair. Because jeans don't pull out that confidence in me. Now, there are times where it's like, okay, I'm going dancing with some friends of mine. Maybe a 3-piece suit wouldn't be the best thing.
Yeah.
But, hey, let's just have it for that, that functional aspect. But outside of that, like I said, and I'm only 23, and I've been dressing well since, well, when I say dressing well, intentionally dressing since I was about a junior to senior in high school, and so that is 6-7 years so far, and it's been a lot of trial and error, and every year I learn something different. I try to adapt something new. I don't follow trends. I might take an idea from a trend and adapt it to myself, but I don't want to dress like everybody else. And it's not that I don't want to dress like everybody else so I can stand out and bring all the attention to me. It's, I want to be my own person. I want to be my own man, and I am not going to just be what everybody else is. I'm very encouraged and very inspired by people who have a very similar mindset, and when they have that bold personality of style, but they have a good sense of self and who they are, that's the type of man that I want to be and that I want to project. And so I'm getting there. I'm constantly fine-tuning. I am definitely not arrived. And I really don't think you ever arrive. You just have a much better idea than other people do. But you're never, oh, I'm exactly where I need to be. It's always changing. It just gets, more and more focused the older you get.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've always said, in a year, like a year or more in business, if and this really relates to more accounting, but I always take something that I learned in business and adapt it to my personal self. So I hate accounting. It's not my strong suit, but I know for sure if you're looking like a long-term investment, it has to be a year or more. But if it's less than a year, then it's a short-term investment. So I take these, how you say, short-term goals, and I adapt them in 3 to 4 month periods. So in 3 to 4 months, either a third or a fourth, I want to reach this goal to reach my ultimate goal, right? So everybody says I have a 5-year plan, but they don't really have a plan. It's just kind of, I would say,
5-year idea.
Yeah, it's just like an idea, and then it's kind of like, it's like shooting in the dark. You don't know what you're going to hit. You may hit the bullseye or you may shoot somebody, and not to that extent, but the idea I try to take this business aspect to the way you say it's a progression is 3 to 4 months, I want to look like this, or maybe adapt like this, or have a goal like this to get to the ultimate goal, which takes a year. And then from there, okay, I hit my mark. I could take a break, or I could take another 3-4 month hit and then just keep moving forward from there. And that's the thing is, a lot of people, how you say there's power in style and there's also influence in that. And we're going to go ahead and get into how, we were just like you and I, we both had low self-esteem, insecurity at one point, but we were able to progress to that. But we all started somewhere in our endeavors, especially with Gentleman's Avenue and Gray House Consulting. The one thing is, we start here, point A, going to point B, and then keep moving forward. And even when we finish the entire alphabet, to start back over, because if you don't give yourself a challenge, you're never going to move up.
Exactly. Exactly. Um, yeah, I fully agree with that. And where I'm at now is not where I thought would be, but where I thought I would be at this point. Because when I started having this passion and this love for men's clothing and dressing well, I don't want to say men's fashion. It's like I said, it's menswear. There's a power to dressing. It's a different word other than fashion. I really,
It's style.
even though yes, it's style. Even though I work in the fashion industry, I try not to use that word if at all possible. For me, it has a negative connotation with trends, nothing lasting. It's just constantly changing and all that turnover. Style, it lasts. I was asked once, what's the difference between style and fashion? Well, I said style or fashion screams, style whispers. You both know it's there, but like, what do you remember? You're like, oh, a whisper. You're making that effort. Like, oh, what is that? I want to know more about that. So for me, when I started dressing well, like I said, I realized that I had this new passion, this desire, and I felt good about myself, and I wanted to be able to give that to other men. So I started working at JCPenney. My very first day on the job, I was sweeping crickets, and I was dusting shelves, and I was just starting at the bottom up. Started working in the menswear, the men's section of clothing. I became an expert there. And the area that I grew up in, not a lot of guys knew how to dress well, had no idea, and so I was there to kind of help guide them along. Ended up at one point being about third in command at that store, about third or fourth in command at that store. Almost became the human resources manager at age 19, and that was just a lot of grinding it out and being who I was. And again, that's not what I wanted to do, because with JCPenney, it was very corporate. It was, you need to sell this product, you need to do this, you need to do this. Where I was more concerned of, here, what works best for you? Where are you trying to go? Okay, let's build outside of that. When they're saying, oh, you need to sell this, you need to do this, you need to do this. And that's not what I wanted to be a part of. So once I graduated college, I was wanting to do something a little more specific. So as we're talking about this funnel, so my funnel was out here, and then I just wanted to bring it in a little bit more. So I reached out to a guy that I knew who was selling custom clothes. So worked with him for a couple months, and that was not a healthy business relationship, because he just did a lot of things that were not right, and I did not want my name and my potential future brand to suffer because of that. So ended up leaving that, worked for a couple other custom clothiers, selling custom clothing on the side. Similar negative things started happening, and I just thought, you know what, I'm going to do this myself. So I was working as a manager at James Avery Craftsmanship, Artisan Jewelry, and it's a great company. It's definitely been the best company that I've ever worked with through this point. Aside for the job that I'm working at right now, and we'll get to that in just a second. But it was the best job that I worked with, but I didn't want to be in the jewelry industry. I didn't feel like I was making an impact, and especially the job position that I had, it was just going to be a dead-end job that I was just looping, doing the same thing over, and there wouldn't really be where I wanted, it wouldn't take me where I wanted to go. So I made a connection about 3 or 4 years earlier to this guy who has a shop here in Arlington called The Man Shop by Wally Hardin. So it's been a shop that's been open since 1972, and I've been up here in the Metroplex for about 5 to 6 months at this point. And I thought, I've been up here for this long, I still haven't reached out and said hi to Wally yet. So it was my day off, so this was a Thursday. Went to go say hi, walked in. They thought I was a brand representative for someone else, because I presented myself very well. I was not going in there trying to give them my resume like, hey, I want to work for you. It's just, I wanted to build that relationship and kind of see where that would go. So I walk in, and Wally wasn't there, but the other guy day. Had the interview, and before Wally said one thing one way or the other, he said, I want you to come in on your day off and just hang out with us for a day. I want you to see what this is like, and if this is something that you want to be a part of. So first connection was Thursday, interview Friday, Saturday I had off, went and spent all day with them. And Wally pulled me to the side at one point and he said, I don't want to offer you a job, I want to offer you a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I said, where do I sign? And that's, that's where I am, to this point, because it's not a grind. It's not one of those things where you walk in and you feel like a used car salesman is just trying to sell you a product. It is business. We're trying to make a living. We're trying to sell product. But how we do it different is that we're concerned about the relationship and what works best for you. As great as you would look in a suit, if that's not what works best for you, okay, what do you need? We'll help you with that. We want to be the one-stop shop for a man who doesn't like to shop. So, like I said, we carry a little bit of everything from suits, off the rack, and custom, jeans, t-shirts, flip-flops, dress shoes, a little bit of everything. And it's about the relationship. And as this funnel is getting closer and closer, working here at the man shop really helped it refine it a lot more, because I get to focus on that one client. Where I had one guy I was helping out yesterday, he loves great quality suits. So he bought it was about a $2,900 suit, 3-piece suit from Lord Piana, fully custom, fantastic fabric, and he said, you know what, let me get another one. And so he's got this other 3-piece, gorgeous suit, that's another $2,500. But it's not about the money, it's the fact that he knows specifically what he wants, and as we are building together, we are helping refine that story. So it's personally for me, I'm trying to refine my personal style story. That's coming down. Also with my career, it's getting closer to exactly what I want to do. And even within that career, I'm building with these specific men, and we're helping find that specific story. What works best for you? Okay, let's get there. Let's get the best version of you that we can. So that's a little bit of my story of how I got to where I am. And if you can't tell by now, I am super passionate about menswear. I'm super passionate about personal style.
Yeah.
And wanting to be a part of people's story and help them grow their own personal story and their development.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the little things is, I'm not going to sit here. I guess we can kind of relate to, we worked for corporate America. We know exactly how it works, especially since, working for corporate America, now to say that every business is like this, but for a good majority of it, and my progression goes very similar. I started out doing some of the low end jobs. I didn't even know what I wanted to do until I took my first human resources class. So really it was, I was an assistant for a transportation department. Before that, I worked in a factory for corporate America that had one of the worst organizational structure and HR kind of, or like just department overall. Before that, I was an assistant for for adults and kids who had special needs, and then from there I was a food expo, and then I was a cashier at a fast food restaurant. Then I was also a bar back. So it's not like, oh yeah, like one day I just became owner operator, Great House Consulting, or an office manager. Even before this job, I was a recruiting coordinator or a staffing coordinator, what do you want to call it. But one of the biggest issues with that was that I was trying to, it wasn't even so much quality care, it was more like quantity care. It's just we had the people to supply. And just going back to your JCPenney's reference, it's, well, I understand I'm supposed to make these sales quota, but why am I trying to quote unquote sell something they don't need? Why don't I market something that they do need and give them value? And that's the one thing, is give someone value. Whatever potential prospect or client, you have to give them a value in order to bite the hook. So kind of more with me in how I've been able to progress, it's, well, it took a while, but I progressed into creating, time management, because I didn't have it and now I do. And if you follow these, and it's something that I'm still working on in the editing process, but it's then from there, it's how to get hired. Because I'll be honest, I did apply for positions, and honestly, what people take, 9 months to 2 years, I was able to crack it down in probably a month, which is relatively good and relatively quick. Even for my last position, I got hired, ironically, the same day I quit. for my last position because I knew exactly what I needed to put for a job that I was looking for. And that's the thing. You have to know your audience. You have to know your target market. And it's just little things like if you follow these steps, you will have similar success rates. It's not a guarantee, but it's going to be much easier than just how you say blind firing or blind selling.
Exactly. Oh, perfect. Um, yeah, as you're talking, the specific target audience, when, as I mentioned before, I was actually thinking I was going to be an entrepreneur. I was going to start my own brand, start from scratch, and that's what I was working to. Extremely hard, it's extremely difficult. You know this very well. It's very difficult to make it as an entrepreneur, but it's very exciting at the same time. So as I was pursuing this dream, I never thought about owning a brick and mortar store. Part of the deal that Wally and I are working on right now is potentially I could be the next owner of the man shop, and that's something that we are open in saying, if this doesn't work out, we're gonna say no, and we're gonna parting ways. If it does work out, we're gonna see exactly what that looks like and what that needs to do to effectively run a business. So I was aiming, and I was getting specific as I was working for all these clothiers and these negative things kept happening. I thought, you know what, I'm gonna do it myself. It's gonna be a lot bigger of a responsibility that I'm gonna take it by myself. So I gave myself a year, and I was talking to different different factories, and this is what I want my suits to look like. What's it going to be the cost? Okay, what are going to be my margins on this? Where exactly is it going to go? Is it going to be fully me? What am I going to do? So as I'm focusing on this came out of nowhere, and I'm thinking, well, this is established. I'm getting to do everything that I want and I'm passionate about, and I get to learn, and I get to basically apprentice under someone who's actually doing it, not getting taught by a professor who is telling you the idea of running a business and how to effectively do that, but it's someone you're actually in the trenches with them, and they're showing you exactly how it works. A situation comes up, and they're teaching you how to address the situation, and that's for me something that I wanted to specifically work with. Also in this industry, and this is something that you mentioned earlier that I wanted to bring up, is people are, as we're talking about dressing well and its effectiveness, especially working specifically in menswear, when people walk into the store and they see you, you are the clothing authority. You are the person. You are coming from a place of authority because you work there, you are trying to sell that product. And yes, where we are trying to sell the product, it doesn't need to be, well, let me either benefit somebody or let me sell them a product. It should be both of those pushed together. So when someone comes in, for me, I would want them to be in a suit because you're a guy, you've got a body, let's put a suit on you. If that's just not the guy, okay, let's get you something that works best for you, and let me teach you how to do that. Let's work together. If you've never tied a tie before, let me show you how to tie a tie. You don't know how to polish your shoes or what patterns go together. Again, that goes back to working with that person and getting more specific with that relationship.
Yeah, and that's just kind of something that, like how you say, if you would have probably, and let's just kind of go into speculation here, if you started when you were a junior, senior in high school and you just kind of went into the man shop, they probably would have been like, what are you doing kind of thing. Like just from where we started, right? But where you put in the time, it was able to progress into now you having this opportunity. And that's the one thing is, I kind of tell people to take a step back, and even myself, is because the one thing that we want to avoid is a burnout. And going even into business, it's, well, there's nothing wrong with ideas as long as you are creating these, how you say, change to adapt and adapt to change. Just because it's you have to realize like business is all the time. It's never ending. Even when your operation hours are whenever closed, like it's still going in a way. So I like how you mentioned that where someone comes in, they're like, hey, would you want a suit? It's like, no, like I don't want a suit. I'm like, okay, well, we can try polos, we can try chinos, we can try khakis, we can try corduroys, we can try a t-shirt or something that would relate to their style, and possibly just say, I like your idea. Why don't we go ahead and try this sweater with this combination? Just because I understand this is what you want, but if that's what you're going to wear, why don't we just transition it a little bit, to get yourself outside of comfort zone. And I like that incentive that you give them.
people believe that the suit is dead, and like I said, it's had a negative connotation associated with it. Where for me, I want to bring back the joy and the passion of getting dressed up and making that effort, because I've worked with guys who we've started off on the casual wear, and then we've like slowly built up to where like now they're wearing jackets, and then now that the fact that they're wearing jackets, they're trying a pocket square. Never thought that they would wear a pocket square before, and then they're growing from that, and then now we're in separate, so we're wearing a pair of trousers and a nice jacket, and we're building from there. So even though that's personally for me where I want them to be, you've got to build that relationship with you. They've got to trust you. They've got to see it, and you've got to help walk them through it. There's some guys who just want to jump in and cannonball the whole thing. Okay, if that's what you want to do, let's go. But it's going to take time. For me, that's what I love about the process. It's like listening to your favorite song. You love the chorus, but it's the build up to it, and once it hits, it's a beautiful symphony. It's so exciting, and it's a beautiful sound. But it does take that relationship. So no matter what industry you're in, I mean, this is getting kind of off topic of the subject, but it's about the relationship, though, and it's about building that relationship with someone. For me, I am dressing for the opportunities. I am dressing for those relationships. But if we're taking it even further in, you've got to dress for your personal relationship with yourself. You've just got to like yourself, and then that's where that confidence will reflect to the other person, that they will see that you're confident, and they will see that confidence, and they're going to end up trusting you. And it all goes back to, because this is just laundry, essentially.
Yeah.
What I'm doing is selling people laundry. But if that laundry puts a smile on your face, if that pair of socks that has some polka dots on it makes you happy, that's what you need to have in your wardrobe. Like, why do you not bring those things to your life that bring you joy? Why are you not taking out those things that are bringing the negative adverse effects on you? Like, that doesn't make sense. So many people, and to me, this is, I'm going to stay on my soapbox here, but that's why I wanted to be an entrepreneur, because I don't believe in the American dream. Go to school to get a good job, to go to college, go to high school, go to college to get a job, get married to have a job, and then buy the white picket fence house, and then the 2.5 kids, and then retire when you're 65. One, I think that dream is lost. It's not even possible anymore. But two, everyone's doing the same thing, and they're just chugging along, and they're working to Friday. They're working to Friday. Well, why not work for the day? Why not work for something that you're passionate about and that you're excited about? Why would you not do something like that? For me, I've worked at the man shop for about 7 months at this point, but I actually haven't worked a day yet, because I've been doing my passion. And there are a lot of sacrifices that came to get to that point, and I've had a lot of great opportunities and wanted to take advantage of them.
Yeah.
But why would you not do something that makes you excited? Even though there may not be, a big financial payoff, there's more to life than money. If it puts a smile on your face, and your family is taken care of, and you're not in debt or anything like that, who cares? We're all so concerned about these, and this, again, I don't want to get too far off, but like I said,
No, you're on the right track, because I know exactly what you're referring to, because that's the whole start of how it, like, that's the start, the big vision. Yeah. Go for it.
With like a simple thing like insurance. Now, if you're in the insurance industry, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the insurance industry, but if you break it down, you're basically paying off on fear or the uncertainty of, like, if this ever happens, you're going to be taken care of. Well, yeah, there's going to be uncertainty. In life, there's uncertainty. You can't plan for everything. Now, I'm not saying, be stupid with your money and never get insurance or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, like, don't live for, like, the next day. Like, live for now. Live within the moment. Enjoy the moment. Put your phone down. Stop taking pictures of your favorite artist and just soak in that moment. Because when you take a freaking video of whatever you're taking, like whatever you're looking at, you're watering that moment down, and you're not even enjoying the moment when it's happening. So that's why you should love what you're doing. You should fully be there. If you're going to just a 9-to-5 office job just to, like, make it by and pay the bills, yeah, you do need to pay the bills, other jobs out there. There are other opportunities where you can do what you love. You can have a smile on your face, and your bills are paid. And again, going back even more specific, in your clothes, if you're putting something on that makes you smile, how is that a bad thing? So if someone's looking at you like, oh, you shouldn't really you shouldn't dress that way. No one really dresses like that. But it puts a smile on their face. Okay. There are people who dress really crazy. They've got piercings and tattoos and weird, I don't want to say deformities, but that makes them who they are. I may not understand it, but it's essentially like artwork. I understand that there took a lot of effort and time to be put into that. And every person is a piece of artwork. And you should, push yourself out as a piece of artwork. For me, this is how I choose to, not ordain, that's the wrong word, but this is how I choose to present myself, because this is fully me. And it breaks my heart that so many people they don't have that same passion and that same fire. You should still pull out the best version of yourself. You don't know how much longer you have on this earth. You should make every moment count. And
absolutely.
Like simple in clothing that puts a smile on your face, don't care for a moment what somebody else says about it.
Yeah, and so, and you really hit the head on the nail, or the nail on the head. You hit the nail on the head. So going back to what we discussed in the beginning is, and we'll go a little bit to more just overall business and the idea of how that relates to this power and style. You said the American dreams, that I absolutely agree, because, in the 60s and 50s, inflation was not an issue. Now that it's 2018, inflation's an issue. We're put on this hamster in a hamster wheel. And the thing is that you went to college, I went to college. Now, am I saying that dignified, like where I am now, it may have helped, but there's no college for menswear styling. You kind of just have to know it, or you have to fail at it. You have to know it. You have to be good at it. You have to know what you're talking about. Entrepreneurship, you really can't teach entrepreneurship. You just kind of have to fail at trial and error. If this didn't work, change and adapt to change. And
you've essentially got to get a battle buddy. You've got to walk through it with somebody. You can't talk about the idea. You've got to roll your sleeves up. You've got to get the dirt in your fingernails, and you've got to just go all at it.
Yeah, because even when I started out in style, I was wearing stuff that was 2-3 times bigger my size. I didn't know what tapering was. I didn't know what tailored meant. I didn't know what fitted meant. I didn't know what a seamstress or a tailor meant. Like, I just kind of put something on off the rack and then just said, I look good in this, which really I looked okay to the average eye. But to somebody like you would have been like, hey, dude, so just by the way, your pant lengths are way too long. You know what I mean? By the way, your shoes are really cheap, so they make you look cheap, kind of thing. And so it was just a progression. And then me personally, I realized I actually got really good at off the rack stuff. So I know what the right t-shirt is. I know what the right jeans are. I know what the right chinos are. And maybe all I would have to do is just get them tapered at the leg and then just hemmed. For shirts, I actually love the idea of the tie bar because they just fit my body type really, really well. And it's just little things like that. Like, I'm more like, I don't get excessive to where I get everything, but just good enough to where it's almost off the rack. And even going to this, just overall of this progression of how you say the American dream. We go to school, get a job, 9 to 5, and then that's it. But just overall, the reason why I created Gray House Consulting was all I know is how to learn, how to figure things out, how to progress. If I stop learning, I feel like my mind is off. I have to learn something productive every day and actually implement it to what I do now. Like SEO, I knew jack about what SEO was. And then I figured it out. It took me a month to get my website to the top ranking page on Google, but I got it there. And then, just going on from there, I knew what marketing was because I had a foundation of a business degree, but it didn't really teach me how to compete in 2018. It told me how to compete if I was working for somebody. So instead of working for myself, it didn't teach me that. It told me how to work for somebody else. And that's the one thing where I'm not against the idea of college. I'm just against the idea of you think it's your pathway to success or it's your pathway to a job, and that's the thing is I have failed every day, and I'm completely okay because that's how you succeed is fail, you learn, trial and error, and then you hit the nail on the head, and then you just kind of like put it all together and going on from there. When I started out in style, I didn't really have the right fits. I didn't really have the right clothes. Now it's like I used to just wear like black and navies and grays. Now I'm wearing this like palm tree shirt, and I actually look really good in it. I like it. Even though it's like off the rack, I knew exactly what size. It had the right amount of stretch. I wear jogger shorts. I wear joggers. I can put streetwear together much better. And it's just it took time. I used to think, if you wear baggy clothes, it's like it's comfortable. It's actually more uncomfortable than stuff that actually fits you. And it's just the progression of things overall. Of a lot of people think they see the big picture, but you don't understand how much struggle and how much dirt I put under my fingernails to get to this big picture. It was like you didn't look that good when you started, but now you look freaking amazing. So it's just things like that. It's like it takes time. You just have to really put in the effort and not give up and develop your resilience, manage your time, prioritize what is important, what is not. If you get rejected, that's okay. I get, I fail and get rejected every day, but that doesn't mean, I'm going to stop.
Absolutely. And you should. There, there's a quote that I use is always rise, never plateau. And I'm a huge football fan, and I think of two different players. I think of Randy Moss and I think of Tim Tebow. Both different positions, but I love one's mindset over the other. Now I will admit that one is more talented than the other, but I prefer the other one over the other one. So let me get specific with this. Randy Moss, in my mind, is one of the best receivers of all time. This is a debate, but I would say he's probably number two. Obviously, Jerry is number one. Jerry Rice is number one. But I would say Randy Moss is number two. He could easily be number one because he has the term moss. Like, oh, I mossed him. Like, he was a boss. Randy took plays off. Randy could go out there and do whatever he wanted. In one season, he broke the record with 23 receiving touchdowns. But people would even say Randy would take plays off. So if he, at not even his best, we don't even know fully what his best was. If he took plays off and he scored 23 touchdowns, if he tried every single play, how many touchdowns do you think that he would have? So there's all this uncertainty. Now, Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow is the one who I will definitely admit he is not as talented as Jerry Rice. He is not a better athlete than Jerry Rice, but he is definitely much more dedicated, and he is much more of the competitor dog mindset. Like he's gonna get it. He's gonna get in there. He's gonna get it done. It's not the prettiest. A lot of people say he was a bust. I don't think he was a bust. I think he was a really good quarterback, a really good leader, and he did everything that he could to make sure that the job was done, and it was done. It was done right, and he would always try. So he's always rising. There's never a point where he's like, okay, now I've made it. I can just chill out. That's where you plateau. Randy Moss was up here, but he plateaued. He never tried to get any better. So you should always rise, never plateau. So just keep going because again, we don't know how much longer that we have on this earth. So you need to go full out. You need to pedal to the metal, full throttle, go all out. Anytime I go to the shop, I want to be the best version of myself that I can. If I made a big sale, like say someone came in and I sold $10,000 to one person, man, that would be fantastic. But I know that after that, I would break it down and think, okay, you know what? Did I even offer him socks? Did I even tell him about our tailoring program? Were there other things that I could have done? And that's how you should always be thinking. How can I constantly get better? And it's not beating yourself down for failing. Failure is a lesson that we don't teach. That was something that a friend of mine had told me when I was at a really low point. He said, failure is a lesson that we don't teach. So once you fail, don't be like, oh man, I suck, I'm terrible. Think, okay, I didn't do this correctly. What can I do the next time to be a better version of myself? What can I do differently to always be better? So, are you, considering,
Yeah.
Even though you might be the best out there, are you a Randy Moss or are you a Tim Tebow? It's not the prettiest, but you're always going to be working to be better. Or are you a goat? are you just the absolute best out there? But you plateau. You're like, I know I'm better than everybody else. I'm just gonna chill out here. It's fine. You should always be working better and always be making that effort to continuously refine yourself and your skill set.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just, you know, it life's a progression. They don't teach that. And if I knew now what I knew then, I knew exactly where I could have taken. Now I can't put in the other variables that like could have happened, and I'm not going to say I regret anything. It's just I wish I knew this earlier. I have a lot of days where I'm like, I wish I knew this earlier. This makes my life easier so much better. And it's little things like that. Just, I met you 2.5 years ago. Yeah, 2016. I want to say it was 2016. 2.5 years ago. And, that was when I started getting into style. And it was so funny because we went to this just really random, well, I just went to one of the random church gatherings kind of thing. And so, I see this guy, you had really long hair at the time, you're wearing this hat, and I see double monk straps. I'm like, oh, I know what those are. But then when we realize like there's a lot more than just double monk straps, there's wingtips, and then there's single and stuff like that. It's just, it takes a progression of things. It takes your ideas and your influence on me, and my ideas and my influence on you, and then everybody else is, I've always said this. If you always want to collaborate and never collide. The minute you collide is the minute that you burn bridges, or the minute that it creates just unnecessary, collateral damage. It creates this unnecessary collateral damage, and you never want that. And also, I always say that, Kevin O'Leary said it point blank. This guy's super wealthy. He's very rich. He has a good foundation. Higher education is not a prerequisite to success. Like it really is not. And I've worked alongside people that went to the top tier schools, and I made the same amount of money as them. And I'm just like, so why did you spend so much? You know what I mean? And it was just little things like that you put together. And, I remember even the boss that I was working for, they went to a junior college and they were making like 70, 90K a month. And I'm just like, not like a year. And I'm just like, why did I know this sooner? Like, why didn't you tell me? Like, why did you paint me a pretty picture? And then I realized, college is a business, private, public, it doesn't matter. I personally say, everybody, if you want to just get a degree, I would just say get an accounting associates, and then just go to a 4-year degree, and just, if you still think you need to, because accounting is the most important skill that you will need, accounting and finance, just kind of go out and just, there's a simple, easy way to do it. Like, you don't have to just... If you graduate like 25 years old from college, it's perfectly fine if you have the experience to back it up. But if you graduate, 25, 29, and you have no experience to back it up, it's kind of like, well, you shot yourself in the foot. You should have been doing something. Even if it's part-time, it's like work to something that you're good at and keep pushing forward. And if you really need that piece of paper, then do it. And entrepreneurship, you don't really need a paper. You just need to be able to fail, but not fail drastically where you risk everything. And the biggest thing that I knew exactly now is I use a lot of programs that don't add to my overhead. So my video editing software, and YouTube, and marketing platforms, and analytics, and SEO. It doesn't cost me anything. I just have to invest my time to learn it well enough to compete with the next person. And even my website, like, I know enough to get by. It's like I don't have to worry about the high overhead. And it's just little things like that I teach, what they should have taught you in college, but they won't teach you. How to apply what you have now and create it something. I think the best thing is helping people get these jobs. Like, I was a recruiter. I know exactly what to look for. I know exactly what industry you're talking to. I know exactly what to put on your resume. As long as I can see the job description of what you're applying for, create your master resume, and then create the next resume. Prepare for the interview and say, look, there was a time where my phone went off and I was on a panel interview. I still got the job because that little mistake didn't account for it, because they knew I already knew enough. When I got my job, Canva graphic design was my gateway to Adobe. I knew the idea of that software working, and then just got to Adobe. Adobe was my next challenge. So now I know Adobe. And then I knew video editing software, and then I knew this email marketing, and then social media marketing, and it just got better and better and better and better. It's just little things like that. Like, you have to be resilient and diligent about it, and you just really can't give up.
Absolutely. And this is a comment on when you were talking about school earlier, I believe a lot of people stay in college for a long time, or they even go to college just for security, but I don't know what they're being secure in. And then also it's the fact that, like I said, there's never a guarantee, and there's just kind of putting off the inevitable of you're going to have to grow up. You're going to have to go out there. You're going to have to, get rejected and get declined at a couple jobs. You're going to have to go out there. You're going to have to be hungry for a while. But that's how you will, once you get the taste of defeat, and you got that taste on your tongue, and then you get that taste of success, and then you win, and you start winning, and you start getting that momentum, that is what's going to end up driving you. There's, like I said, there's never a guarantee on school. Now, if you know exactly what you want to do, and you're like, you know what, this is what I want to do, this is the path to get there,
Yeah.
go for it. That's awesome. Fully recommend that. But I don't recommend going to school is when there's so much branding on the school, because it is a business. Like, it's not about education anymore. It's about business. So, like, you're thinking, why is a book $400 that it's going to be irrelevant next year? Well, because they need to make money. They're not actually teaching you any skills. And also, if you think, if someone is a professor and they're telling you about how to effectively run a business, have they effectively run a business?
Yeah.
No. Then who are you to tell me what that looks like? Why isn't somebody in your place who knows what they're talking about? And it's not that they're giving you this idea. They're giving you actual steps, and they are telling you exactly what you need to do to effectively run that business. Because when somebody's just on tenure and they're just kind of coasting, they're like,
kind of like how you say greatest of all time, they're tenured. They don't have to worry about it. They hit their point. They plateaued.
Mm-hmm. And they're not, and they are not concerned on your well-being. Now, there are those professors out there who love what they do, and they have skin in the game, and they're very well studied, and they're going to tell you, and they're going to teach you, and they're going to do everything that they can to help you get to where you want to be. And I love those professors. And I had a history teacher. I didn't want to do anything in history, but he was passionate. He knew what he was talking about, and he actually had genuine ideas and applicable
methods,
actions to take on how to change the crap that's going on in the world. This is when, it was in 2016, it was when the elections were going on. And it came down to the last couple, and we're like, okay, so, where do you stand? What do you think?
Yeah.
Here's why this guy sucked. And here's why this person sucks. And here's why Hillary sucks. And he wasn't skewed on one way, because a lot of the professors are like, oh, I'm liberal, and this is why you're wrong if you don't believe in what I believe. Or on the flip side, it's like, oh, I'm Republican, and here's why you're stupid if you don't believe what I believe. He came from an unbiased perspective, and he's like, you know what, this is what I'm going to vote for, and here's why. You know what, here is this person's flaw. Here's this person's flaw. Here's this person's flaw. If you follow that, it's like, if this person was in power, look in history of what had happened, and this was the adverse effects from it. These are the ripples that carried out into our present day.
Yeah.
And what I love is that he wasn't teaching history as trivia, as in a Jeopardy, if you will. He was teaching it as, this is what happened, and these were the choices that led to that action. Now, if we make this action, this will be the outcome. But if we make this action, this will be the outcome. And he was teaching you to think. That's not something that a lot of schools teach you anymore. They don't teach you how to think. They feed you information, and you just repeat it. And people just take it at face value. You've got to, you've got to think for yourself. You can't just go off of that. I'm going to try to get back on.
No. Actually, that goes to the idea of there's power and influence, but it has to be applicable, and it has to be where you boil it down from this funnel and say, how I use my marketing strategy, ADA, attention, interest, desire, action. It's a marketing strategy. I have your attention. I'm building your interest to have your desire to take action. It's a funnel, and that's teaching applicable methods, why this works, why it doesn't work, and going from there. Just like how you say,
that substance associated with it too.
And just going from there. It's you can go to a client and say, you're 300 pounds, skinny jeans aren't going to look for you, but if we have relaxed, tapered, that will look much better. I don't even know if they make it, they probably do, but you know what I mean, is because of this. You know, you always have to give them because and the why and explain to them if they don't get it is it's because of this proportion. And so it's just little things like that that, you know, we've both come a long way. It wasn't easy. We learned, we failed, we learned, we grow, we had our low points, and then it's just keep going there. And Austin, I thank you very much for allowing me to pretty much give you on my put you on my finale season of Lessons from an Influencer, because you have an influence, you have a great Instagram, you're always killing it in the style game, and I know you're already on the Gentleman's Whiskey podcast, or what is it?
It's Whiskey Conversation.
Whiskey Conversation.
We're trying to get to the point where we are posting every week, but right now we're posting every other week. So we're on SoundCloud. We've got a YouTube page at just Whiskey Conversation. You'll find us there. We're 5 rakish, dapper, whiskey drinking, cigar smoking guys, and we just talk about different topics. So you can find us there. I'm on Instagram at Gentleman's Avenue, emphasis on the gentleman.
Absolutely. So I'll make sure to post everything in the link in the description. And thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for wrapping up my Lessons from an Influencer series, dude. And I really wish you best of luck on your endeavors.
Appreciate it, man. Best of luck to you as well.
Take care.